So anyway, these are our Crow sessions that we've been talking about setting up for people, just to kind of give an insight, like what's behind and going on in the world of JF. So, what is going on? It's been quite a while.
Well, Carlito, it's really good to see you. Um, Thanks for having me here. It's always good to talk to you. Um, I uh, I have a lot going on. Here we are, sort of bracing ourselves for the last couple of months, last few months of 2024, and well, so far in this sort of season, we released a music video for a song called Who that we released on August 9th, um, produced and directed by a friend named Clay. And for the song Who, question mark, Who. And that's a song that I wrote some time ago, um, maybe even 20 years ago. And then about, I don't know, 10 years ago, it was produced and recorded in Johnny Cash's studio in Hendersonville near Nashville, Tennessee. It's a studio, the fabled Cash Cabin studio, where Johnny did a lot of his last recordings called
Wow.
the American recordings. I'm sure you're familiar with those
Yeah,
American
those are the Rick
recordings.
Rubin ones.
Yeah. And his son, John Carter Cash, was assisting in production of those records. And John Carter Cash produced the album upon which Who was released. And that record was a international release through Dual Tone Records. And that record was called The Better Angels. And the single from it uh, was called Johnny Cash on the Radio. And it
Yeah.
did fairly well on Americana radio charts and such like that. But the song that we did the music video for just last year is called Who, and it asks a lot of questions. It doesn't provide or imply uh, really many answers or any answers. I personally prefer question marks to any other form of punctuation. Um, they're great. Question marks, you know, I mean, they're just so much better than periods. I like the dot 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 too, but the question mark is my dude. And
There's a lot of exclamations going on in this world, like telling,
yeah,
claiming. Yeah, I ain't a
yeah,
fan either. I love the questions. The one thing that I thought, like questions have been around for a while, but with the surgence of AI, I'm gonna go down a little rabbit hole. AI, when you speak to it, it's really only valuable if you have good questions for it to explore the depths of all the possibilities of what could be answered about that. And
yeah,
recently started doing that, but without the right questions, it's like walking into a library of Congress and having no idea where to start with what you're interested in reading. So I'm a question man too. And there's a lot of good questions in Who, man.
yeah, yeah. Like one time I asked Alexa if everything is gonna be all right, and and she said I can't answer that question at this time. But that's fair. That's a fair response. But anyway, yeah, we released it on Indigenous International Indigenous Peoples Day,
Right.
a very overlooked holiday and day of celebration of the indigenous people of the world. Uh, and that would include uh, Native Americans and First Nations people. Um, that would include Palestinians. That would include Aboriginal people of Australia. Uh, that would also include, believe it or not, the Irish. So, hey, what's up, Ireland?
What's up, Ireland?
I
Yeah,
miss you.
tell me more about that overlooked nature because I think you're spot on to something. I loved the lining up of the release of the video for Who on
Yeah,
August.
yeah.
There's a lot
Well,
of
I think,
distraction going on, right? Like, you know,
yeah,
th-
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the connection to the song, um, you know, uh, the song, the song has some melancholy questions. Who took the heart out of the heartland? Who took the wild out of wild blue yonder? Who took the middle out of middle class? And who took the Indians out of the summer? And to really answer those kind of questions, or to ask those kind of questions, we as a society globally, we would have to take a look in the mirror and address some of those questions, like, why are indigenous people so overlooked? Why are their communities so often the most impoverished? Why are they the most disinherited people? Um, why aren't their stories being told more often? Why are they pushed to the margins of our society? And the chorus of the song, Who, if there is a hint or an implication of an answer to the question, it's with another question. It's, was it you or was it me? I can't say. Or was it everyone who's looking the other way? Which is a reality. Indigenous people have become invisible, because we don't want to see them, because to see them and to really bring them back to the center of our consciousness, and to allow them to speak to us and teach us and lead us into the future, a better future, a future with hope, and a future with less corruption and less pollution and less damage to our souls and less damage to our planet and less damage to each other. We're forced to take a look in that mirror, right? And I sound like I'm soapboxing right now, and I don't care. Uh,
where does that caution come from? And let me frame this a little bit, right? Because what one thing that I like about our relationship, over the last 20 some years, right, is that I like coming back to you because you do have something to say. And there's a lot going on out there that isn't worth listening to. So it's okay for you to beat on the soapbox. And because it's of value. I mean, you and I didn't meet through music. We met in a Native American spirituality class. So
oh
the things that you
man.
talk about go back a bit, like there's some substance, which is really cool because sometimes you hear like a really good song and you wonder, well, how much does that person stand behind those words? You don't know. Like you can listen to Who and be like, man, that's a really good song, but does John back that up? And I can say that's how I met you, asking questions like that and trying to be the voice for the voiceless, right? To go into, say, like a Christian liberal arts school where we were at, where there's no presence of indigenosity, right? It's all colonialized.
Yeah.
What?
I was saying a very little presence.
Okay, well, you're
Yeah.
more graceful than me. Um, but 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 yours wasn't small, like it was powerful. And you've backed up what you're singing about over the years. And I think that's what anybody that comes to your music and then discovers also that or knew that about you and then discovers that you're in music is a real hard to come by sort of artist that is actually living it sort of thing. And that's what we want to kind of share like through these crow sessions,
Uh,
right? Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
John's got
Yeah,
some songs, but he's got some ideas flowing in his heart and he's been hard at work.
yeah. And let me harken back to what I was what I was saying about the production of that song called Who. I chose to record to ask John Carter Cash, the son of Johnny and June, and my dear friend. I asked him before I knew him. I asked him if he would produce the record called The Better Angels because I saw a PBS special with John Carter Cash talking about the studio and talking about a recording that he did there, a record that he produced there, and tribal elders from the Lakota Nation were doing Lakota ceremonies, sweat lodge and uh, the pipe ceremony and um, burning sage and purifying the studio and praying for our nation and praying for the earth and praying for each other. I saw this on PBS and I thought, wow, like I need to talk to John Carter Cash about making this record. And I got a hold of him through Roseanne Cash's manager. He replied and he said, "Send me some demos, man." So I sent him like 30 demos, 30 songs, and he's like, he loved it. He loved the songs, and he said, "I'll do it." Um, and I had a really good budget to make the record, and Wilco's drummer played on drums on it. And Johnny Cash's bass player, Dave Rowe, may he rest in peace, played bass. And, um, you know, people who've played with Lucinda Williams and Dwight Yoakam and John Mellencamp, they all played on this record, and, I'll drop, those names didn't shatter when I dropped them. So I hope you like that. But anyway, turned out to be a really good record and climbed to number 19 on the Americana charts. And I won a national songwriting award for the song Who, for socially conscious songwriter of the year from ASCAP, the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. And I got to go to the Lincoln Center in New York City and sing that song for a packed out room. And I got to sing the song at the United Nations upon invitation. Uh,
Wait,
and
wait, 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 wait,
in
wait,
New
wait.
York City.
Hold on. What does it feel like? Because there would be, I remember, I think it was Chavez. No, it might have been, I can't remember if it was Fidel Che or Chavez, but he was just like, this place smells like sulfur. When he was at the
Yeah.
United Nations.
Yeah.
And
Well,
how
yeah.
did you endure going into that setting? I don't know. Like I would be sick to my stomach. How did you do?
Well, I was invited to perform for their rededication, their 10th anniversary rededication of their United Nations agreement toward the eradication of extreme poverty.
Okay.
And which is very much correlated to indigenous people and
Yeah. Yes.
some of their plight. And I don't know. I just did what I do, and I sang the song, and I sang it with all of my heart and guts and uh, everything that I had, you know. And I remember the French ambassador coming up to me. I think it was the French. I don't know. Came up to me and said, "Hey, good job," you know. And I said, "Well, thank you." Uh, and please tell me we're not going to have to come back in 10 years and do this again because you guys are going to fix this, right? And, you know, that
Well, that's how you did it then. Oh
so
man,
yeah, that song has had a lot of tread and I've sang it thousands of times all over the world. And it's still relevant, maybe even more relevant now. Those questions need to be asked. Who took the power out of power to the people? Who took the equal out of equal rights? Who took the buffalo off of the prairie? You know, who took the human from humanity? Uh, and you know, it's only gotten more dystopian since the song was released. It's only gotten more. People have gotten more disinherited, and the middle class has shrunken even more. You know, um, so we have to ask these questions. You know, Dr. King talked about this society is so busy making a living that it forgot to make a life. In the song "Who," I asked the question, you know, who made a living off of taking your life? You know, and I am dumbfounded, shocked, uh, sorrowful, and enraged by the lack of humanity and the lack of love that I see in the world around me. You know what I'm saying, Carlito?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and this song asks the question, like, what are you gonna do about it? What are we gonna do about it?
There was a question when I first heard you were going to be releasing a video for a song that had been released so long ago, but I think you said it really well. There's some songs that grow in relevance, and to release a video for a song 14 years later is just saying this needs life once again because it's more relevant than it's ever been.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, if you watch the video, which I hope you do, it some of the shots are inside of a church, actually a church that I was where I was the priest,
Oh man.
and some of the in Madison, Wisconsin, and some of the shots are in front of the Capitol,
Yeah.
the state
That's
Capitol.
nice.
Some of the shots are in a prairie,
Yeah.
and you know, some of the shots are in the street, and yeah, John Carter watched the video. I sent it to him, and he said, "Wow, really cool video. I'm so glad that you released it." And you know, so there's new life being breathed into that. While at the same time, I have a full length record that is going to be released in the early 2025. It's called Forbidden Hymns.
We got new
So
music coming out.
yes, we do. Yeah. And I've been sitting on that record for a long
The
time.
record's done.
The record is done.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man. Forbidden
Produ
Hymns
Forbidden Hymns.
coming
Yeah.
out in 2025.
2025, baby.
Tell us more about that record. What
Produced,
who's working on it? When did this take place? What's going on?
I worked on it over the course of like 10 years, 9 or 10 years. And I worked on it while I was touring whenever I could in spurts and seasons. While I was in seminary, I worked on it. And it was produced by Ken Coomer, who is the drummer for Wilco and Uncle Tupelo, and he plays drums on the record. And Kenny Vaughn plays with me and Marty Stewart and Lucinda Williams and a whole host of other people. Dave Rowe, again, Johnny Cash's bass player all through the 90s and early 2000s. And Dwight Yoakam, he played with Dwight Yoakam a lot. And you know,
And here's the thing for me when I think of forbidden hymns, and you were just saying that you were a priest at a church where like you release like what's thematically what can we expect from forbidden hymns versus what maybe we've known of your material before, Better Angels, Philadelphia EP, and so forth.
right. Well, it's not too far off from sort of like the streams that I tend to write in, which tend to be love songs, albeit uh, love lost songs. um, you know, sad, sad songs, love songs, and um, topical songs. There's a few of them on there. This record also has a couple of sort of epic ballads that are sort of a spiritual journey songs, story songs. And there's a flavor, there's a tinge, there's a streak of gospel in this record with songs like Mighty Power.
Hmm.
And there's hope and there's joy in this record, as well as um, uh, sorrow and woe. And, um, snapshots of the world that we see around us. And so I feel like it's on brand for me. Um,
I would
but
hope.
it's fresh and it's new and it sounds great. It's layered and um, rich in its production and instrumentation. So I can't wait for it to be released.
Oh, we can't wait, brother. Hey, we're gonna wrap it up. I know you got some stuff to do, but we'll be doing these Crow sessions often, so people will be able to follow it on the JF O'Mara YouTube channel, where we'll be posting those, and through our Instagram and through our Facebook. So these are the Crow sessions with your favorite JF O'Mara, aka Chic.
Justice and justice for